Right now on the National Weather Desk, dirty air. Smoke from Canadian wildfires is putting millions of Americans under an air quality alert.
Long summers with hot temperatures and no smoke may not be very common anymore.
Hurricane season. The National Hurricane Center's tropical weather outlooks resume today.
They show areas for potential tropical formation.
Cougar encounter. An unexpected visit from a wild animal on a family's yard.
I think it was just as shocked by seeing us as we were shocked by seeing it.
Seeing double? How do these unique rainbows form?
And it's reflected 2 times instead of once.
Plus, a tornado sends golfers scrambling for safety, and the sun did it again, what makes this latest solar flare so noteworthy.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. More than 37 million people are facing a severe weather alert today. The greatest risk here, a level 3 out of 5, is in eastern Oklahoma, the Texas Panhandle, and far southern Kansas. These storms could include large hail and also tornadoes. The areas you're looking at right here in yellow have a slightly lower risk. They include Charlotte, North Carolina, Oklahoma City, and also central Florida as well. Also, dozens of U.S. cities are under an air quality alert today, thanks to the Canadian wildfire smoke that is drifting south. The areas you're looking at right here in yellow are under moderate alerts. Smoke is affecting parts of the Midwest, Northeast, and also Great Plains. As Amy Kiley reports, dozens of fires are burning in Canada, threatening homes and also health.
Tens of thousands of acres are scorched from a fire in British Columbia. It's near the community of Fort Nelson. Thousands of people are evacuating from that area.
It was a very long drive here. I think it was like 5.5 hours. It was headlights in front, behind you, and taillights in front of you for miles.
The province of Manitoba is fighting a massive blaze that has burned more than 86,000 acres. In Alberta, residents in parts of Fort McMurray are under evacuation orders because their homes are at risk.
I asked my kids, so I have 4, and I asked them to just pack a bag overnight.
As for air quality in parts of the U.S.,
The days of long summers with hot temperatures and no smoke, those may not be very common anymore.
Well, fires are also breaking out right here in the U.S. Evacuation orders were lifted late last night following brush fires in Highlands County, Florida. That's about 70 miles south of Orlando. The 300-acre fire is now under control. About 175 homes were affected by the evacuation. Last summer was the hottest in at least 2,000 years. Now, that's according to new research published Tuesday in the journal Nature. Scientists looked at weather data and detailed sets of 3 rings from thousands of trees across 9 regions of the northern hemisphere. Tree rings here provide a climate history for each year of the tree's life going back centuries. They warn, however, that 2024 is on track to be even hotter. And we have new video showing the destruction left behind after tornadoes touched down in Louisiana on Monday. The National Weather Service has confirmed an EF2 tornado with wind speeds of up to 120 miles per hour ripped through portions of Henderson County. You're looking at it here. 1 person was killed, several homes and businesses were damaged or even destroyed. And you may have seen this tornado pop up on your social media feeds. It was captured on camera Monday afternoon near Branson, Missouri. It's noteworthy for a couple reasons. First, there was no tornado warning at the time it appeared, so it was a surprise. Golfers on a nearby course had to scramble just to get away from it. That course happens to be designed by Tiger Woods. Luckily, no one was injured. And have you ever heard of a thunderstorm cap? Meteorologist Chris Suchan is here to explain.
2024 has been a very active year with severe weather, and in fact is on pace to be the second most active with tornadoes in comparison to recent years. And one of the big ingredients on that is the cap. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan here to explain to you what we're talking about when it comes to a thunderstorm cap. It's a layer of relatively warm, dry air aloft that flows in, often develops in Mexico, the desert Southwest, or the Rockies, and it flows east across the middle of the country, sometimes all the way to the East Coast. But as thunderstorms or the clouds are developing with the updrafts from heating of the day and the air cools as they're rising, That layer of warm air aloft will resist the vertical development into thunderstorms. It's a protective lid on the atmosphere, and that's what it would look like on a sounding of the atmosphere, the profile. The air rises, then it hits that layer of warm air, and it shuts it down. But sometimes it's like removing a lid off a boiling pot of potatoes, and it gets very explosive, and the cap weakens and lets go. And when that happens, that pressure buildup of instability can allow for an explosive updraft, towering well in excess of 50,000 feet up into the atmosphere, large hail, strong winds, and then you also get the risk of tornadoes, especially if you have wind shear coupled with that explosive instability. That is the thunderstorm cap.
Hurricane season starts in just 17 days. Today, the National Hurricane Center starts releasing their tropical weather outlooks. Meteorologist Jennifer Collins posted about it on Instagram.
Since 2015, the National Hurricane Center has released these outlooks showing a 2 to 5 day potential for tropical development in the Atlantic. Just last year, they upped the number of days from 5 days to 7 days in those extended outlooks. Now, what do they mean? They show areas for potential tropical formation. Yellow indicates a low chance of formation, orange indicates a medium chance of development, and a red indicates a high chance for development over the next 2 to 7 days. So keep an eye on these forecasts throughout the season, and of course pay attention to those official forecast cones once a storm actually develops.
And we turn now to Iowa, where the Cedar River is looking a little bit higher than usual after all that rain that's fallen there lately. It's enough to put folks on edge, but does that mean flooding is on the way? Meteorologist Grayson Freund is tracking the water levels.
Iowa sees its fair share of flooding, and there's been a recent spike in river levels, and streams are flowing much quicker. Seasonal temperatures, stream flows, soil moisture, melting snow, and precipitation are factors that play into flooding. And due to the heavy rainfall totals we've received in eastern Iowa through the last month, water levels in our rivers have quickly risen, also leading to accelerated stream flows. And this wet weather pattern is set to continue through the next few weeks.
You had the last 2 to 3 weeks, all of a sudden it's become really wet, as you know, and the rivers are flowing really well. So in fact, the Wapsie and DeWitt is a minor flood. So and just 2 months ago, you can see a lot of sandbars. It looks like it's still going to be a wet pattern through the remainder of the month of May and most likely into June.
Fortunately, major flooding risks are not anticipated this season, though it's still important to stay aware of the changing water patterns.
Well, as spring weather spreads across the country, you may be itching to get outside for a hike, but there is a risk that comes with all that fun, especially when the weather becomes severe. In Tennessee, a specialized rescue organization helps keep people safe while on the trails. Jordan Karnbosch has more.
People who are ill prepared venture deeper into the wilderness and deeper into the woods on the trails than maybe they should.
With the new accreditation, the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Rescue Service Team can now be called in to more complex wilderness rescues, something they say is a very high standard to obtain.
Knowing that we have greater standards, that gives them the assurance that we're going to be able to offer the injured hiker or the injured backpacker the greatest care available.
Hiking can be fun on trails like this on Lookout Mountain, but often dangerous. One family knows that from personal experience. An 11-day search to find her brother's body in the Pocket Wilderness in 2021. Someone she said was a skilled hiker.
He was dog sitting and the dog got away and he went after the dog and went out on a shell, and the shell gave way and he fell and died, but we didn't know he had died yet.
She hopes these new rescue efforts can save future hikers from danger.
I think it's good to have people who are trained, who know the terrain, and who are aware of our area and how it can be a little tricky.
Well, the sun is at it again, just days after a geomagnetic storm allowed much of the country to see the northern lights. It just released the largest solar flare in almost 2 decades. But unlike last weekend, this flare is not expected to have an impact on the northern lights. That's because this flare erupted on a part of the sun rotating away from Earth. And by the way, the sunspot region that emitted the flare is 16 times the width of Earth. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll hear from the family that came face to face with a cougar in their own backyard And we'll help you better understand dew point and humidity.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We are tracking some showers and even a period of steady rain in the Northeast, but the temperatures are going to be fairly comfortable in the coming days, certainly by mid-May standards. Some showers this afternoon will be confined to New York with a steadier rainfall getting into southern New England. We should be in the 60s and 70s. Now, as we go into the nighttime hours, notice how that rainfall hangs out in southern New England into Thursday morning. Thursday looks to be another day with temps in the 50s at the coastline, 60s and 70s will do it over the interior.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Wednesday starts out with still some rain activity as we have been seeing it all night long, but as we move through your Wednesday afternoon, most of that will taper. Still looking at clouds most of the day, however. Stray sprinkle, but not as much rainfall as we will see the first half of the day, and temperatures will still be cool. Highs only in the 60s for your Wednesday afternoon. Going into Thursday, we should get some warmer temperatures, perhaps a little bit of sunshine. Highs will still reach around the 70 mark.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here is a look at your afternoon highs for today. We are going to see temperatures mostly in the 80s. Now, a few of us will get into the low 90s, Tallahassee, and then South Florida as well. A few of those showers associated with the frontal boundary continuing to make their way across Florida, increasing the moisture in the area. Besides that, most of us remain dry heading into tomorrow, also mostly cloudless.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
This early morning sun was spotted with a sundog to the left and the right in the Asheville area. Sundogs form when sunlight shines through ice crystals and high cirrus clouds. The light bends or refracts and forms the bright spots on the sides. These two resemble parentheses. In the Green Bay area, it was a hazy sunrise Monday due to drifting smoke from wildfires in Canada.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
With warmer weather comes more human and also animal interactions. In Seattle, Washington, home security video caught the moments a wild cougar ran into a family's yard and came within feet of several people and also a 2-month-old puppy. Ryan Sims has more.
There's so many things going on. I had to watch it over and over to see everyone's reaction.
In this close encounter of a cougar kind, first came fixation, then fear, then a frantic getaway.
I think it was just as shocked by seeing us as we were shocked by seeing it.
The initial indication of trouble came with the Havener family's 2 cats spotting a much bigger one of their own. They bolted for safety, leading to quite the commotion.
It took me a few seconds to realize this is very large. It's a cougar.
Just feet away, the Havener's young daughter was the first to escape. Then came April, carrying the newest member of the family.
A boy.
A 2-month-old puppy who was just a foot away from this most unexpected guest.
Like it wanted to have a snack. So that's what it looked like for just a second.
With so much going on, the cougar apparently got spooked. As you see, it quickly darted off.
It was streaking away. All I saw was it didn't have anything in its mouth. It didn't have any animals. Everyone was okay.
A chaotic, close encounter that Greg soon realized had been captured at all angles.
I went inside and I checked out the video and I told everyone, hey, come in, check this out.
We live to tell the tale and we have a really cool video to show for it.
Come on. In the end, the Haveners, their puppy, 2 cats, and 9 chickens, all safe.
We all went our separate ways and left it at that.
Well, in northern Michigan, invasive algae has been found in part of the Osable River, but it's not your average algae. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau explains.
Didymo is different from other types of algae and is being treated as an invasive species.
Didymo actually isn't slimy like other algae. It feels more like wet wool, and it holds its structure. So a little bit different of an algae. In a lot of ways, it's kind of paradoxical.
It is unknown how it got here, but what else is unknown is what its presence means for northern Michigan.
Finding it blooming on the Upper Manistee and the Boardman, those are the two other rivers it's been confirmed on. The blooms haven't been detrimental. They've been kind of light coatings. They've covered parts of the river for parts of the year.
But what is a concern is what it could do if the algae meets the low phosphate conditions for blooming here in northern Michigan.
It's nothing in comparison to what we're seeing in places like New Zealand or Patagonia, where entire rivers are covered in like a foot of goo. If you can just imagine like a mat that's just covering the entire bottom of a river, and people will try to cast to fly fish still, and their lines get caught in this biomass because it's really kind of coarse and it's just nasty stuff when it blooms.
It could also be harmful to our stream ecosystem.
When you have a Didymo bloom that covers the bottom of a river, you're going to lose a lot of your sensitive taxa, and you're going to pick up other bugs that are more tolerant of those conditions. So things like chironomids, black fly larvae, there's all sorts of other bugs that are a lot more tolerant, and they're also less ideal food for the fish that like to eat macroinvertebrates. You'd see potentially less, smaller trout populations because they have less ideal food.
But with so many unknowns, the safest option is to prevent the spread of Didymo by cleaning equipment after each use.
The issue with Didymo is that it can actually live on gear for 40 days out of water. So even if you go home and dry your gear, that's not good enough. You actually need to clean your gear. They're saying the 409 solution, Victron, Dawn, those seem to work for Didymo. Bleach definitely works.
Well, have you ever heard of stratocumulus clouds? Meteorologist Josh Kozlowski explains what they are and what makes them so unique.
Don't you just love a nice spring day with some sun out and some clouds mixed in? Well, take a look at these clouds over my head right now. You can see how they're kind of dark based. Might look like it's going to pour. Doesn't always do that, though. That's where all the water droplets are collecting and adhering to other particulates in the air and forming that grayish color. Meanwhile, on top, the cloud is puffing up and more of a white color. We call these stratocumulus clouds in the atmosphere. For the National Weather Desk and the Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
Well, most of us have seen a rainbow before, but have you ever seen a double rainbow? It can be a pretty rare event. Meteorologist Sharon Graves explains how they form.
We had showers yesterday and thunderstorms, and then the sun came out and we saw a gorgeous rainbow. In fact, got a lot of attention. We had numerous photos sent into our Chime In page and on Facebook. This was a double rainbow, and you can see this picture here taken in Versailles by Mark Stafford. Here's the main bow, here's the secondary bow. I have another shot of this taken in Jefferson City by Monica Beto. Here's the main bright, vibrant bow, and then you can see just above it a secondary rainbow. So what is a double rainbow? Well, it is formed when the sunlight is going through those droplets in the air, and it's reflected 2 times instead of once. The colors in the second bow are reversed. So the first bow, the primary bow, tends to be very bright with reversed colors, but the secondary bow, the colors are reversed again, and they're much fainter, and it tends to be a lot wider and spreading out over the sky. Double rainbow is so pretty to see, and yesterday we had a lot of folks that did get to see that one.
Well, here at the National Weather Desk, one of our goals is to clarify some confusing weather terms. Meteorologist Taylor Knos explains a couple of those terms right now.
There aren't many weather topics that confuse people more than dew point and relative humidity. And I understand why. These definitions don't exactly clear things up. So I'm going to try to explain this in real life terms that hopefully make more sense to you. One thing you do need to understand is this: warmer air can hold more moisture than colder air. So let's say we have 2 containers representing the air at 2 different temperatures. The big container represents 90-degree air, the smaller container represents 65-degree air, and the water in the containers represents a dew point of 65. The amount of water in both containers is the exact same. The small 65-degree container is completely full. It has a 65-degree temperature and a 65-degree dew point, so it has relative humidity of 100%. Meanwhile, the large 90-degree container isn't even close to full. It has the same dew point as the small container, yet it only has a relative humidity of 43%. The lesson here, relative humidity changes based on temperature. Dew point does not. If you're trying to figure out how humid it feels outside, dew point is a much better option. A general rule of thumb, dew point becomes noticeable in the 60s and becomes oppressive in the 70s.
And if you're looking for some more great weather content, be sure to check us out on social media, where you can find the latest posts from our team of meteorologists across the country. Just search the National Weather Desk on your favorite social media platforms. And before a short break, we take flight over Miami Beach.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Sarah Converse. The Midwest is sandwiched between two different low pressure systems. One of those slow moving low pressure systems is impacting the Ohio River Valley with temperatures in the low 70s from Columbus all the way down into Lexington, with scattered rain showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. And then another system to the west will eventually creep into Illinois and Indiana. Temperatures for tonight will be mild, though. We'll be in the 50s and 60s, and a few areas also in the 40s.
Good Wednesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Succi. We'll look at our forecast today across the region. We're going to keep an eye out for the Texas Panhandle across Oklahoma for the risk of a couple strong to severe storms with wind and hail. There you see high 70s and 80s. Otherwise, we get 80s and a few 90s as you work towards the Gulf, with also an increase in some humidity. Then Thursday, another day, we're going to be on the lookout for some strong to severe storms. A couple in the morning, then through the afternoon into the evening, the risk for wind gusts and large hail with these storms.
Well, hi there, everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west as we head into our Wednesday, it's getting warmer over the deserts. We're going to make it right back into the mid to the upper 90s today around Sin City, and nearly 100 again out of the Valley of the Sun. 80s, so there's some warmth back for Spokane versus the low 60s in San Francisco and LA, courtesy of the May Gray that's working its way up the California coastline. Heat today, though, back in Seattle and Portland. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Wildfire season is here, and in Oregon, the Department of Forestry is working hard to mitigate the risk of wildfires in the state. Allison Guttleber has the story.
Right now, the Oregon Board of Forestry and the Department of Forestry are working to put together a strategy to protect the state's forests and people who rely on them. Top of mind, addressing the wildfire crisis. Their plan includes funding wildfire resources, expanding the use of prescribed burns, and teaching more people about wildfire safety and prevention.
It's going to help the department and board better position ourselves to be more proactive to addressing wildfire. As far as right now, we are right in the middle of Wildfire Awareness Month. And really the best thing that can happen is for folks to be really careful out there.
Along with wildfire management, the forestry plan focuses on building resilient forests and communities, climate leadership, and organizational excellence, which means building trust in ODF to coordinate with partners in the fight against wildfires.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.